Welcome back to Dead Good Book Reviews. I'm Judith and you're watching another episode of Overbooked, the series where I review every single book on my shelves, because if I don't do this, I'm not allowed back in the village. Today we are talking about Tricia Levenseller's Warrior of the Wild. I'm pretty sure this was gifted to me by the lovely Moon. Thank you so much, Moon. Regardless of where books come from, nobody's paying me to talk about books and all opinions are my own. I will try and link the story graph if I remember so you can find any content warnings if you need them. I'm going to keep this as spoiler-free as humanly possible. If you do want to go in knowing absolutely nothing, don't watch review videos. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. This is a YA standalone, as far as I'm aware it is a standalone, by Tricia Levenseller, who writes a lot of YA. This originally came out in, I want to say 2019. And I'm right, it was 2019. So, in this book, our main character, Rasmira, is unsuccessful in her village's trial to become like a big warrior lady and do great things. And alongside failing, things go terribly wrong and she is also exiled from her village with the challenge to go and kill the god who has been taking tribute from the village for as many years as they can remember, and this is obviously a very impossible challenge. On top of that, she has to try and live in the wilds, which are terrifying and terrible, but she's very good with her axe, so maybe she'll be okay and maybe she can go home. That's the broad strokes of this story. That's maybe minorly spoilerly now I'm thinking about it, but I think you're probably okay and you know where this is going if you are planning on reading this. I think we're okay. My biggest selling point for this is that it's really good fun. I think Tricia Levenseller writes fun YA books that don't feel overly cliche. I mean, still pretty cliche, but if the line is like here for being too cliche, she's like just below it. It's all good. It still feels like a book. It doesn't feel like I fed 30 YA novels to an AI and this is what it spouted. You know, I really enjoy the characters that she crafts. I think that Rasmira feels like less of a caricature than Alosha from the previous video that I've done of Tricia Levenseller's work. I think that maybe is slightly to her disadvantage. Possibly she comes across as a bit less fun, but I think that she still really works as a main character, and who doesn't love a lady armed with an axe? I mean, really. There is a romance in this book. I don't think that will surprise anyone if I tell you that it's very, very YA. But in this, I really liked that the romance kind of had an acknowledgement that communication is important. Does it fall into that trap of maybe we could have solved this problem earlier if we just had a conversation? Absolutely. But it acknowledges that that is a problem and that maybe communication is important, and it doesn't say let's all go to therapy, but that's kind of the feeling of it. And also acknowledging that that's the case in other relationships as well, like in your familial relationships, in your friendships. It's really important to talk to each other, and I liked that fact. There are also, as much as this is quite a short, fairly basic, and I don't say that with negative connotations, like fairly basic YA story, I still think there are some fun plot elements within that story. There are some little twists and turns that make it just extra fun. There's these fantasy beasties that are a little bit terrifying, and the actual resolution of things is interesting and requires a combination of skills with an axe and your brain and all of the above, and there's little moments where you as a reader can work something out just before the main character. Oh, my favourite thing ever. I can't describe it without spoiling it, so I shall leave it there, but I really liked those elements to the plot. I think that possibly we're missing some of the setup, like we wanted to spend a bit more time with the original village to really get why it was sad to leave, or maybe to get a better sense of why the wilds are so dangerous, and maybe the stakes being a little bit higher would have made a difference. I'm not sure. But overall it does feel very balanced for what it needs to do. I wouldn't want this to be any longer. It's quite an unsubtle book, in a lot of ways. In its, I just want to be a warrior, but I am a woman, and not everyone is okay with that, and I have like some daddy issues and some mum issues. Like, it's not particularly subtle in the way that it tackles some of the problems characters have. It very much tells you them more than it shows you them. I think that's not necessarily a problem. I was just kind of there like, okay, we get it, you have problems while reading, if you know what I mean. As I say, not a harmful thing by any means, just not my preference for how I'm told about characters' problems, and I think the whole book would have come across slightly more impactful if it hadn't been smacking me in the face with those things from the beginning. In my last point I've written, it's not really a need, right? I think potentially this is for me personally, because as I say, I don't read a lot of YA at the moment. I feel like I've been a bit of a stuck record on that lately. I apologise, we're just in kind of like a string of YA in the Overbooked schedule. That's just how it has, what's the word? How the chips have fallen, the cards have fallen, the deck has some expression along those lines. How it's all shaken out. There we go, that'll do, something like that. But I don't read a lot of YA anymore, and the YA that I do read tends to be not necessarily unique, but there's something about it that makes me go, oh, this is different and this is what I want to read. And I don't think that this book necessarily is that. And if I didn't already own it, I don't think I would necessarily have read it or be rereading it. I'm not missing it in my life if I don't have it anymore. I just do still have it. And I'll be interested to see if this makes it through my next brutal book purge. I'm not planning one for a while, but it'll be... I don't know, this is a maybe. This is a maybe for that book purge. There are a fair few Viking-y books out there. I have read Sky in the Deep, but I can't remember much about it. I remember there being maybe a boat involved, I think, in Sky in the Deep. That's one that rings a bell. I don't think I've read any similar warrior books. Like, there's a lot of ladies with swords and stabby assassins and such, but not necessarily warrior in the brute strength way that this book is. So that's a nice thing in a way, is to have this very forceful character where it's not about, skill or... Well, it is about skill, but not about... I'm trying to think of the right word, but like, she's just really good with an axe. That's what her skill is. Great. No, I cannot think of a good example of a similar warrior book, and maybe I just haven't read it, so let me know if you know of a good book featuring a female warrior. I would like to read it, please, and thank you. I guess maybe Terrain from the Unbroken, but that's a very different book from this. I don't think those are similar at all. In some ways, yay for this book, paving the way for more lady warriors. I just can't see this being, like, a favourite book. Even for me as a teenager, I can't see me being like, I need to create, like, a stack of my favourite 5 books to show off at school or whatever. This wouldn't be in the stack. I definitely enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. It's a get from the library book, it's not a buy book, for me personally. If you feel differently, feel free to sound off down in the comments below. So a nice short one today, because I don't have a lot to say about books that I don't have a lot to say about. But have you read this? Do you have any plans to? Have you read any other Tricia Levenseller? Let me know all those things down in the comments below, and also recommend those female warrior books, please, and thank you. While you're down there commenting, if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It makes me feel loved and appreciated. If you'd like to, you can follow me on social media. Come hang out on Discord, where we have a lovely chill time talking about books. Thank you so much to my patrons who support the channel and make videos like this possible. You guys are the best. If you'd like to join their number, that's all linked below. That's all from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.